talk about the self-evident truth. Woohoo! Now, I don't know about you, but maybe I'm just the only one that doesn't really relate to that word, self-evident. I thought, what does this mean? Because it's not something in my vocabulary. I don't go around talking to people about, well, that's self-evident. So I looked at this to see, what is this? It's actually, my talk today is based on a chapter in Living the Science of Mind by Ernest Holmes. And the chapter is called God, the Self-Evident Truth Within You. So we're talking about God in us, how Spirit shows up in us. So what does self-evident mean? Well, I went and looked that up in the dictionary because that's the kind of person I am. Actually, I Googled it. And self-evident means obvious, clear, not needing to be explained. Oh, that's why I don't use this word. What word would I use? Captain Obvious! Of course! That's what I would be saying. Well, Captain Obvious, yes. So, truth is what is. Truth is what is. Ernest Holmes starts this chapter by quoting the famous French philosopher, mathematician, scientist, René Descartes. And René said, I think, therefore I am. I think, therefore I am. And Ernest goes on to talk about how this is such a self-obvious truth. Because we all think, right? So we know we all are. We're here because we think. So look around you. What do you think? Maybe you need to change some of those things you think. But we're all thinking beings. So of course we exist. And we can think good thoughts, or we can think thoughts that aren't so good. Don't you have those good days and those days when you're kind of in a funk? And so we need to raise ourselves up to think about those higher thoughts. Guess what that translates to? I woke up this morning with my mind stayed on Spirit. Yes, exactly. So when we keep our mind on Spirit, it's obvious that Spirit is everywhere, and obviously our lives are going to be much better. So Ernest goes through this chapter and he gives us different propositions. And I'll share 3 of those with you today. The first proposition is that truth is that which is. Truth is around us. Now, I'm not talking about a truth or some truth. I'm talking about the truth. Infinite truth here. And infinite truth for Spirit is that Spirit is everywhere. And Spirit is everything. In our reading that Linda did this morning, there's not a spot that God is not. It tried not to be so classy. It said there's not a place that God is not. So God is everywhere, not just out in heaven. This is a difference in what we believe and traditional churches that think God is out in heaven and we are here, the lowly sinner, and we have to do something to change our relationship with God. Newsflash, that's not really the truth. The truth of the infinite being, that God is everywhere, and all we have to do is turn our consciousness toward that, which is willing to love us and accept us because we are it, and it is us. We are one with God. So, truth is that which is. Now, there's some people that would say that's not really true. When you look at the horizon, what does your mind tell you? Out there somewhere, the earth and the sky meet. Isn't that what you see when you look at the horizon? But there is no spot that the earth and the sky actually meet. It doesn't happen. So that's why we need to keep ourselves open to possibilities. Spirit has so many possibilities for us, so much that we can choose from. And if we're under the impression that that horizon, the earth and the sky, are going to meet somewhere, we have limited thinking. So we're not opening ourselves up to the allness of Spirit, to all the good that's there. When you wake up in the morning with your mind stayed on Spirit, you are totally immersed in Spirit. You're thinking about God. You're thinking about all the possibilities of your life. You can leave behind the conditions. You can leave behind all the things that drag you down. And you can recreate your day in a much different way. You can open yourself to things that you never thought possible, because Spirit is always operating with new possibilities. And we are Spirit in action. The concept here, our thoughts, what we're thinking, become our words, what we're saying. And what we say becomes our relationship with the universe. So, one way this can work, if my thought is, I'm going to have a great day. This is going to be wonderful. There's new things. I get to go meet new people today. This will be exciting. Woohoo! Yes! I'm ready for it. What kind of a day do you think you're going to have? It's going to be wonderful, isn't it? And you're going to meet new and exciting people. Now, if you wake up and you think, oh, I don't want to get out of bed. Oh, I got all this stuff to do. Oh, and I've got to go over there, and I don't know anybody over there, and I know they're not going to be nice to me. What kind of a day do you think you're going to have? Yes. So our words, our thoughts create our words. We speak that. And what kind of a relationship are we going to have with the universe that day? The universe, Spirit, life, whatever we want to call it, is not going to really feel like it's working for us, is it? We're not going to have a very good day. And I bet if that's the way you start your day, you'll probably stub your toe on the way to the bathroom. Early days, people denied truth. They said, don't sail too far because you'll fall off the edge of the earth. And if you fall off the edge of the earth, you'll be lost forever. And explorers, thank goodness, said, let's go explore, let's see. I wonder how close I can get to the edge of the earth before I fall off. And guess what? As they sailed out, they never came to the edge of the earth. Woohoo! Now, do you think there was an edge of the earth to the people that stayed on shore and were afraid to get in a boat and start sailing? Yes, Captain Obvious. There was that limitation in their thinking. So we can watch our thinking, and we get to expand our minds. We expand beyond the five senses here. And that's the important thing, in my mind anyway, is that we move beyond our five senses. Have you ever heard the phrase, she has a sixth sense about her? Well, maybe she knows what she's doing. Mother Teresa was on a trip. She was in an airport. Her traveling companion with her, Mother Teresa noticed, was getting all fidgety. And she looked over and said, what's wrong? And her traveling companion said, well, I've got some bad news. Mother Teresa said, there is no bad news. There is only gifts. She said, are you offering me a big gift or a small gift? Well, at this point, her traveling companion was a little frustrated and said, well, I don't know, but our flight is going to be delayed at least 2 hours. And Mother Teresa, with a little gleam in her eye, said, that would be a small gift. And how wonderful, because now I can finish reading the novel that I started yesterday. Where is your mind? Stayed on Spirit? Looking for the good? Or seeing everything as a problem? It makes a big difference in how we live our lives and what shows up for us, doesn't it? Our second proposition here is truth being all there is, it's universal. So think about this, truth as a synonym for spirit. If we read that, spirit being all there is must be universal. In other words, spirit is everywhere. Spirit is in everything. Truth is in everything. We can choose to look at it, or we can look away from it. It's our choice. If we use this analogy, and that it's universal, then if everything is spirit, everything is spirit. There's not a place that spirit is not. Spirit plus nothing, because there's nothing else other than spirit. So spirit plus nothing equals spirit. So it's all spirit. Now you can choose to believe that there's something other than spirit, and then you mix up your whole formula, and that's going to screw up your whole day. But feel free. We all have choices, and we get to choose what it is that how we want to view life. A truth. If truth is all there is, and it's universal, then a lie is only a denial of truth. So a lie is a denial of truth. We're denying what is. We're denying what is universal. We're denying what is everywhere. But a lie is not the opposite of truth, because there could be no opposite if truth is all there is. And a lie has no power. A lie has no vitality. It's not real because it's not truth. And truth is all there is. Now I'm talking about infinite truth here. And I know some people will want to come up and argue and say, well, truth is, I had ankle surgery. I'm in pain. I'm having to go through all this. You expect me to think about spirit? Yes. Guess what? That'll make that whole rehab so much easier. So I'm talking about infinite truth here, not the reality of some of our lives where we're hooked into the human condition. I'm talking about a greater truth when we look at the universe as a whole and what's going on. It's beyond our five senses. That's the truth I'm talking about. The truth beyond our five senses. The Buddha one day was teaching some of his followers, and as he was teaching, he had a man come up and approach him and start unleashing all of these obscenities on him. The Buddha stood there and looked at the man. He smiled softly and let him go on, which only made the man get more infuriated and unleash more obscenities on the Buddha. And the Buddha just stood there. Finally, the man stopped and he said, "Why is it that you're unmoved by the things I'm saying?" And Buddha answered with a question. If a person is given a gift and they refuse to accept it, to whom does the gift belong? The man said, "Well, I guess to the person who gave it." And Buddha said, "Well, I decline your gift." wakes up each morning with his mind stayed on Spirit? I bet he does. I bet the Buddha sees possibilities all the time for good and more good, for life and more life. You see, what we think about is what we're going to bring about. Our thoughts create our words, and our words create our relationship with the universe, and that relationship with the universe is how we're going to see life unfold. So what we think about is what we're going to bring about here. Our third proposition is the truth is unchangeable. This means it's self-evident. Since there's nothing for truth to change into, if truth is all there is, there's nothing for it to change into, then Captain Obvious, it's unchangeable. It's always there, right? And if we use that word spirit interchangeably with truth, spirit is all there is. It's ever present. It is only stability. And truth is faithful. In Living the Science of Mind, this book that the talk was based on page 145, Ernest says, the truth which sets us free is not the introduction of some higher power on a lower plane. The knowledge that there are no higher and lower planes in truth, no higher or lower laws in truth. If we exchange the word spirit for truth here, the spirit which sets us free, the spirit which sets us free is not the introduction of some higher or lower, let me get this right. The spirit which sets us free is not the introduction of some higher power on a lower plane. It's the knowledge that there are no higher or lower planes in spirit. There are no higher or lower laws in spirit. Spirit is all there is. And there's not a higher category up here and a lesser down here. In the Bible, it talks about Jesus taught them as one with authority, not as the scribes. Because it's understood that this was the nature of Jesus. Jesus understood that God was not in heaven, and he was here on earth. Jesus knew that God was in heaven and here on earth. And Jesus knew that he was here on earth and in heaven because he and the Father were one. That oneness of spirit. And we are one with spirit. And if we recognize and live from that place of oneness, knowing that God is in us and we are in God, there is no separation, then there is power in our lives. That's where we get to create our own lives. Because we're all expressions of spirit. And spirit, newsflash, doesn't have just one way to express. Have you looked around nature? Have you looked at all the different trees, all the different animals, all the different ways that spirit expresses through nature? And have you ever said, why do they have rattlesnakes? God, why did you create that? We could do without that. But it makes the whole experience of life, right? And so we all express spirit differently. And we can't say any one person is better than another person. There are no higher or lower planes here. It just is. Spirit is everywhere. And we get to give that expression to spirit. The self-evident truth of God within you. You can live from that place of knowing that God is all there is. Spirit is all there is. And you give expression to that. Or you can live from your five senses. And if you're living in your five senses, I can guarantee you that you are going to be limited in life. You're going to have barriers around you, and this is exactly what you think is the totality of reality. But when we open ourselves up to spirit, when we look at the truth that God is everywhere, let me get my propositions. The truth that God is all there is, truth that God being all is universal, and truth is unchangeable, then we live from a much different place and we have much more possibilities. We can really know life to the fullest. Albert Einstein said, life is a field of unlimited possibilities. Your life is unlimited possibilities. Are you willing to step into that, to own it, and to live from that place? Or are you so tied into your five senses that you think this is the only reality? We can have a big flow of God in our lives, giving us an exciting life, or we can limit life, and we can let just a little bit of God flow through. And yes, I know a few people who I wonder if they let any of God flow through. But it's our choice. We get to open ourselves and see how we live our lives and from what kind of a mindset do we live. My final story today is about a carpenter. The carpenter was ready to retire, and so he went to the contractor that he worked for and told him of his plans to leave the house building business and retire so he could spend more time with his wife and his extended family. He said, we're going to miss my paycheck, but I really know we can get by, and so this is something I want to do. The contractor, his heart went out to the man because he had been such a good employee and did such quality work. And so he said, I need to ask you a favor. Before you retire, would you do one more thing for me? Would you build one more house? Just one more. And the man said, sure, I'll do that. Well, in pretty quick order, it became clear that the carpenter's heart was not in building this house. And so he started doing some shoddy work, not the quality work that he was used to. He used some cheaper, not as good material in the house. And that was not his standard. He just wanted to get done and do it as fast as he could. When he completed the house, he let the contractor know, and the contractor came over to look at and inspect the house. He walked up to the man. He handed him the front door keys, and he said, this is your house. It's my gift to you for all of your hard work. The carpenter said, if only I would have known I was building this house for me, I would have done it so differently. Every day, we are building our own life by what we think, by what we feel, by what we say and what we do. And if we want to build a different life, it has to start with our thoughts, with our words, with our actions, so that we live from that place of truth within us, that Spirit is all there is. And we never know when we're going to receive that gift, because what we give out is what we're going to get back. And so let's make sure that as we give out to the world, we're giving out the love, the joy, the peace, the excitement of life that we want to receive back. And then life will be fulfilling and exciting for each of us. Let's pray. Thank you, Spirit, for this time to hear these truths. To know that truth is unchangeable. It's all there is, that you are truth. And that there is not a place that you are not. That there are no higher and lower planes in you. We're not closer to you sometimes than others. It's simply our perception. It's our view of life and what we decide to open ourselves to. And so we open ourselves today to the fullness of knowing all that you have for us, choosing from unlimited possibilities of how we create our life. And so we create a life that is rich and full, that's free and exciting. We can be anything we want to be. And so we say thank you, Spirit, for the unlimited possibilities in our life. Help us to keep our minds stayed on you and on the oneness that we share, so that we are living from that place of love, that place of heart, that place of truth within us. And each day will be a wonderful day. I release my word, and together we say, and so it is.